Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mutant Academy. This is the show where we talk about X-Men. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Sal. Hey, Sal.
Hey.
And thank God, the other show you and I do is Spider-Versity, and we are in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends for that. And I had to check my brain for a second when we were doing this. It's like, is this the good one or the bad one? Oh, it's the good. Okay, good. It's the good week. All right.
Yes. Night and day. Night and day.
Not that there aren't flaws with these episodes, but like comparatively, it's like, ooh, smooth sailing.
Dickens, comparatively. Like, I'm watching this, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's some, there's especially the first episode we're getting into. This is clearly the B team, animation wise. I wasn't sure at first, and then we got in the other episodes. I'm like, oh, okay, so that was the B team. Got it. But listen, if you want to hear Sal and I just, have an existential crisis dealing with Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, you can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. If you want to watch this live and you missed it live, you can do that as a member, and you can catch these early, like about a month early. I'm banking these for when my baby gets here, so Mm-hmm. But this week we are waiting our way in to X-Men the Animated Series, and we've got some, and they found their groove a little bit. Yeah. They've entered into. They're a little bit more confident, and I think we're just gonna get right in there after we read something from the super chat. That's right. Ray Farr says, "Sal and DJ, woo! Hope you two are good. I've grown to appreciate X-Men, but I still feel like Marvel lacked a lot of oomph in their '90s shows compared to DC. I will, Sal.
Oh, just DC." Only had to make two great shows. They had Batman in 92.
Yeah.
Superman the Animated Series is amazing. And I saw that apparently there's a little bit of a disconnect between the audiences of today and yesterday. People are like, I saw people agreeing with each other in this kind of like, we all agree the Superman Animated Series was mid.
Okay.
And I'm like, first of all, we do not.
Yeah.
Secondly, don't use that word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was shocked to see people like don't like that show, and that there's a permeating discussion about like, well, the people who made it didn't even want to make a Superman show, and it's so evident in the DNA of the show. And I'm like,
yeah.
It's like people saying that they like the prequels more than the original trilogy. Like, that's how fundamentally shaken to my core I have been on the discussion. And it's very, it's Superman Animated Series. It's not going to be as touted as the Batman Animated Series.
Yeah.
So it's a smaller conversation, but the conversation's happening nonetheless, and it blew my mind.
Yeah. It's interesting, because I think Batman the Animated Series is in rarefied air, and I will say I think this is pertinent to our discussion. Because for X-Men the Animated Series, which is obviously beloved, and it's good as long as my brain doesn't drift to Batman the Animated Series. If I'm comparing and truthfully, I think animation-wise, as long as I don't compare it to Spider-Man the Animated Series, which is flawed, but like comparatively, it's like, guys, I know we mentioned it last time. I still can't believe they have not gone back and like. What's the I don't know, I completely blanked, but like refurbished.
Yeah.
This, you've got X-Men 97. You knowing X-Men 97 was coming, you didn't come back and up-res, like go just like do like a remaster, do an HD remaster of, go back to the negatives, upgrade it.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
There's no, because like Marvel back then, I don't think Marvel even had access to the negatives, because for them, they're like, oh, we don't own any of that. Like, we're just licensing. At this point, we are a licensor. We just open up the toy chest and anybody just have at it.
Yeah.
That said, DC had to work really hard to make two good shows.
Yeah.
Marvel was like Fantastic Four, Hulk, Silver Surfer, Spider-Man, multiple Spider-Man shows, and X-Men, and more. And like, Iron Man as well.
Yep.
Some of those shows, like the first seasons, were very rough. Fantastic Four and Iron Man, obviously, the Marvel Action Hour, very rough.
Yeah.
Second season, they figured it out.
Yeah.
From the opening theme, it tells you, we're sorry.
Yes.
But we weren't wrong about the voice casting, at least, and so they kept everybody there. But the Fantastic Four animated show, I think it's great.
I would love to go back because I watched a little bit of that. I watched more of Iron Man, and I want to say that wasn't my first exposure to the Avengers because it was Force Works, right? But I don't.
Force
yeah, it was
Works.
Force Works.
They didn't call it Force Works. They didn't call it anything.
Oh, it was just his.
For no reason, a bunch of random characters are here now.
Yeah. But it was my first kind of, and I know they made an Avengers show not long after, but I still feel like this was closer. The Iron Man show was closer to like an actual Avengers style show. And I've got fondness for that. To your point, I will say something that really works on these shows. The X-Men shows we're covering. The one thing they nail. I got complaints about some of the animation. I think some of those stories are a little all over the place. Voice casting, you killed it. It's fantastic across the board, just solid.
Yeah, one of my issues with the original voice cast of Rogue coming back is that all I am doing is comparing her to her original portrayal 30 plus years ago. And I'm right to do it because man, is she good in this show.
Yep.
We're not going to talk about it here in this episode, but like when she fights the Juggernaut, she is swinging for it. And I'm like, this is... And by the way, that Juggernaut episode, I must have had it taped because I could recite it. Dude, like a one-man show.
I had the comic. Yeah. They would release comics of the episodes, and I had that. And I will say the comic had Colossus in his costume. But it wouldn't. I understand it wouldn't fit in the episode, but
But I would rather see it. I've always one of those things. When Colossus is in that episode, we'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. We're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
But the voice casting is spot on. Everyone's amazing. Jubilee is good.
Jubilee's great. Yeah, it is, and it's one of those when you bring in. It makes sense that of the voices they brought back Rogue, and it is one of those like, wow. The only reason people, I shouldn't generalize like this. We just complained about people generalizing because the one thing you can sure you're wrong about is if you go online and say we can all agree. No, you can't. No, you can't. But it's just one of those like, wow, the only reason people care about Rogue is this show, man. Is this show?
Yes. Because every comic book adaptation, like every single seminal X-Men story that I have read or I've covered on back issues on my home channel, when Rogue appears, she ain't that Rogue.
Yeah.
It's always some other Rogue. It's either Brotherhood Rogue or just post-Brotherhood Rogue.
Yeah.
Or it's just the Rogue's figuring it out. This Rogue, and since the show started, since this show launched, the comic books have been trying to catch it.
This Rogue, and one thing and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't know if there's a way to phrase it that isn't a little weird, but they do a good job. She's so hot, man. Because and why that matters is it underlines the tragedy of her not being able to make contact with anybody because anytime, and we talked about this on Spider-Versity when the Spider-Man X-Men crossover, it's like, I'd risk it for Rogue. I'd be like, I'm Gambit in this situation. Like
every time,
maybe we can figure this out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I will move heaven and hell to figure it out. I will parlay Earth's entire security force to the Shi'ar for some kind of body condom. I don't care what it is, but did that change my perception? Did that make me go like, maybe I'm into Southern Belle?
You gotta go to Tony Stark and be like, Tony, I think we have the technology. I think we can figure this out, man.
I understand I'm a civilian. You don't know who I am. You don't owe me anything. But come with me to Westchester. And
have one conversation with this woman. You'll be like, I get it, man. I get it.
You may stay. You may take it from me, but then I'll at least know that the technology exists.
Yeah, and I think the other half of that equation, because I was so young at the time, I was picking up these comics, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't as fresh in my mind as this animated series was because this was more my speed. But it really pairing up Gambit and Rogue is so smart. Because those are clearly the two X-Men that fuck. Like they would be like, of course.
Yeah, they're DTF all
and
the time.
And they can't? Man, that sucks.
Yeah, Gambit, and that's the thing about Gambit. Like, it also informs Gambit's character. I don't like to use sexualization to make a character have character traits. But like with Gambit, this dude seals the deal on the first date every single time.
Yes.
He's met this woman. And, obviously, if Rogue's power was just flight and strength, he would have banged her right away.
Yeah.
And he would have lost interest. And he wouldn't have understood who she was as a person. And it would have been like, whatever. But instead, he's like, I can't do the one thing I'm great at.
Yeah.
This person, I have to show her who I am. I have to show her my heart.
Listen, I've
never done that before in my life.
I had to incorporate this whole card gimmick to make my powers seem cooler than they are. His powers are pretty cool, but I had to do this gimmick to figure something out. The one thing I'm really good at, I can't do here. Like, come on, guys.
Right, I can't do it. So now I've got to show her who I am, and I've got to be better.
Yeah.
Like, I show her who I am. She's like, you suck. And I'm like, oh my God, do I suck?
Yep.
Do I need to have a personality? Do I need to have like heroism in my soul?
Yeah.
And then it makes him better.
Yeah.
All because he can't seal the deal with Rogue.
Can't seal the deal with Rogue.
So when they finally do, maybe it's a metaphor for commitment.
Uh-huh. Maybe. Yeah.
The whole thing
is a metaphor for commitment. Rayfar says, just my opinion, of course, but I gotta say 90s shows like Hulk and Silver Surfer were amazing for me personally. I ate up the melodrama, LOL. I will say, I went back. Here's my 2 memories of Silver Surfer. One, they had a Better A Bill action figure that I totally bought. And
I wanted it so bad.
And God bless the manufacturers because the design in the show is not the comic design, and the toy manufacturer's like, well, we're gonna make them look like the comic. So good for them. And when I was sick, like a couple years ago, I was just Disney Plus. So it had just been out like a year. I'm like, I'm gonna watch these old Silver Surfer episodes. It was rough. It was rough. It was a different
rough,
time.
But it's authentically rough.
Yeah, that's
as
true.
Rough as any Silver Surfer reading experience you'll ever have.
Mm-hmm. Silver Surfer's a character you want to be cooler. Is one like, I really wish I was more into this guy.
Well, and like if you like faux Shakespearean melodrama, if you like introspection, and if you like My Chemical Romance, you'll probably be into Silver Surfer, because all he does is just sit on the board and go, my Shalabal, my Zenla. But if only I could return to Norrin Rat. Like, it's just like, that's what it is. And like, Stan Lee loved writing for him because he's like, this is a chance for me to exercise my inner emo.
Yep.
And it doesn't appeal to certain people, but for others, it's like, it's such a smart move to make him so specific a character with such a specific theme.
Yeah.
And have him be one of the most powerful members of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like, oh my God, you like that emo complainer? It's like, he could destroy Spider-Man.
Yes.
And it's like, all right, I can't argue with that.
Also, dumb name. I know that we've all accepted.
I love Silver Surfer. I love all the goofy stuff. I wish the world was like it. Like, I love Marvel cosmology so much.
Yeah.
I want it to be real. Like, I know that means technically, maybe, statistically speaking, we'll probably be eaten by Galactus at some point.
Yeah.
But I'll take it because I love the idea that there's a guy named Blastar with 2 A's running around in space.
Yeah.
I love the idea that the Living Tribunal will face me when I die and judge me with their 3 faces. Like, I love all of that stuff. I love the idea that like God from another reality might show up and be like, I don't know what this is. I've never seen you before because I didn't make you. And then I could teach him how to use the bathroom. Like, there's so much in Marvel's cosmology that I'm like, I'm here for it.
Yeah, please.
Jack and I would have gotten along.
Yeah, dude. Totally. Cornet Chris, to what Sal said earlier, at some point there was a turn in the consensus on JLJLU where everyone agrees it sucks. And I'm like, am I going crazy? It does. That's nuts. That's crazy.
That's nuts. Because like the thing is, DC has like 3 good cartoons.
Yeah.
It's Batman, Superman, and Justice League, and they're all part of the same effing universe. And then all the Titans people are like, what? And it's like, look, I didn't watch a lot of Titans of either variety. I watched more of the Teen Titans cartoon, anime inspired, than I did the
Teen Titans Go.
Young Justice. Young Justice.
Oh,
I didn't watch Go.
Yeah. Young Justice was good. I'd like to imagine Teen Titans is canon, although that's a stretch. The other one that I feel like is canon is if anybody watched, and I know you didn't because it got canceled, but if anybody watched that Hal Jordan CG Green Lantern show, that was actually I didn't watch it when it aired. I was part of the problem. But I went back and watched it later. I'm like, oh shit, this is good. Like this is, and the way they pace it out, it's in my head canon. This is I think they teased Jon Stewart at the end of the second season, whatever. And it's one of those, in my head, this all happens prior to Justice League. So that's in my head canon but it doesn't work though. That doesn't work because a plot line that was unresolved in that show ended up getting resolved in the Young Justice. So it is very specifically canon to Young Justice, which I don't think works as well, but nobody asked me. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Nobody asked me. I have
that on Blu-ray, but I got to watch it someday.
I was genuinely, because it was CG animated. Yeah. And it was after the Green Lantern movie, and I'm like, I don't know that I care about this. And then I went and watched it. I'm like, this is actually doing some interesting stuff.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it's after Beware the Batman, which is another show. I was like, nope. I'm not gonna.
No thanks. Which I still haven't revisited. Maybe it's good. I don't know.
Yeah. And Static Shock, yes, it was a good show for like I aged out of Static Shock by the time it came out.
Same.
It was geared more younger. I prefer the comics. That's it.
Ian McGar, who is a member, says it explains why my dad used to watch the show when I was a child, which I think we're talking about, if he's talking about X-Men the Animated Series.
Which we are too.
Makes me feel old. Makes me feel old. That's
you're capable of paying us money, and your dad watched the show?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm gonna
process that. You are old enough to have a disposable income.
Yeah, I'm gonna process that on my own time. Yes. And but for now,
Captive Hearts.
Captive Hearts. We're gonna get into Captive Hearts, which originally aired on January 30th, 1993. Sal, do you have the synopsis in front of you for Captive Hearts?
Sure do.
Okay.
Well, Wolverine has strong feelings for Jean Grey, which I think is an understatement.
Yes.
But that's the first sentence.
Yeah.
Storm must overcome her claustrophobia as the X-Men venture into the New York sewers to rescue Jean Grey and Cyclops from a deformed race of mutants called the Morlocks.
Mm-hmm. So
2 sentences.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I will say that, comparing this to Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Oh my God, what a
night and day.
Yeah, night and day.
Crushes it.
I will say this episode does take on a lot, because it's one of those like, wait, is this a Storm episode? Is this a Wolverine episode? Is this a Cyclops? What are we doing over here?
They're like, and I bet back then they were like, we're balancing so many things. Like, look at this. You can't even tell who the protagonist is this episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's X-Men, I guess. You can't tell who's the main character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love when they were like, oh yeah, Storm's the field leader. And I'm like, did they is this the episode they establish it?
Yeah. Which, I mean,
listen, to me, like, I should know that already.
Yeah. Which that's the conflict we open with. We open on the Danger Room, and they're fighting the machines. And Jean says, "You're fighting the wrong X-Men." Which I don't. Are there other? Does the Danger Room have other X-Men options that they should be fighting?
Yeah, probably not.
But whatever. She's workshopping her badass lines. She'll get there. Professor X says that these threats represent the threats you might experience in the field.
I guess if Omega Red was underground or something, that's true. And there's like lasers and stuff. I'm like, well, I mean, look, they are attacked by giant robots that shoot lasers, and so yeah, I guess that's fair.
And if they were to fight the Green Goblin from Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, he might have a room that tries to crush them. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. So Storm's voice is weird in this episode. I just wanted to note that. I don't have any observations about it. It was one of those, like, I remember Sal mentioning they changed voice actresses, and I don't know if that's what this is. And then I watched the next episode and it was back to normal. I'm like, so what happened last episode? What?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just because everything is like, it's just torn apart.
Yeah. When
it comes to like owning any of this stuff and what's original and what's canon. And so you don't know what version you're going to get.
Yeah. So, during the whole sequence, she's trapped in this shrinking room thing that brings up a claustrophobia as a plot point, and then we do a flashback. Sal, do you remember when Storm was a white girl? A little white girl?
I only remember it in this flashback where I was like, that's what?
Yeah, the animators clearly thought it was Jean Grey. They're like, okay, yeah, young Jean Grey. Crying, got it.
And they went like, oh, that's too expensive to fix.
Yeah, so whatever. So meanwhile, Wolverine is practicing karate. All right,
yes, in a gi.
There's only 2 people that know karate. One of them's Wolverine. The other one's the King. All right, that's a Walk Hard reference. Y'all should do your homework. It's a great movie.
I do love. You know what? Wolverine knowing karate is not the most surprising thing.
No. He's a weep. Of course he is. I think karate is Korean. No, it is Japanese. Sorry, I did Taekwondo, which was Korean. But anyway, yeah. Wolverine's a weep. We know this about him. So then Jean shows up. He's still nursing wounds from that little scratch Sabretooth got him. And Jean's like, not even you can heal that fast. And I'm like, well, I mean, normally.
Right? Yeah. I love he's like, by the way, this episode and then subsequent episodes, they say words that I think they say more. They say kill, die, and death more times in this episode.
Yeah.
Than in the entire series of Spider-Man animated series in '94.
Yeah. Censors had dialed in on this one. They're like, hold on, wait a second. We let X-Men get away with too much.
Right? Bizarre.
So, I mean, Logan like almost falls over. Jean catches him. They share glances. And it's funny to me now, watching this now, obviously having grown up watching this show, how seminal the like Jean, Scott, Wolverine love triangle is, and how I don't think about it anymore. Like, to me, it's like that's just not a thing we do or care about anymore. I don't know if that's still the case. Maybe it's just a me thing. I don't care about it.
No, it's not fertile soil to grow, story crops from anymore.
Yeah.
But it's all I think about. When I see Wolverine, I'm like, don't forget. There's two things to know about Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wolverine loves anime.
Yeah.
And Wolverine is a simp for Jean Grey.
And the third thing, he goes where he wants to go.
And he goes where he wants to go. He does do that in this body of episodes.
Yes.
But doesn't say it.
He doesn't say the line. He doesn't say his catchphrase.
I think they're like, we're done.
Yeah. They realize like, oh wait, he said that like 5 times in those previous episodes. We need to dial that back.
Well, now we know. Now we know he goes where he wants to go. So when he does, no one can be surprised.
Well, the love triangle that we have now in the more modern comics is Scott, Jean, and Emma Frost.
Yeah.
So, and then I say, let's make it a, what is it? A sectant? What's the something with 6 sides? Let's throw Wolverine in there. Now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah. The thing is that neither Jean nor Emma would touch Wolverine with a 10-foot cattle prod.
Yeah.
They're like, ew.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, Jean and Cyclops are on a date. And Cyclops is pouting about work. He's like, "Oh, I wish people." I don't remember what he said. It doesn't matter.
He's being Cyclops.
Yeah, he's basically like, the professor wants us to
be a team.
Yeah, and I want to. And the professor, we get it. So, meanwhile, this little green dude is like stealing fruit or whatever, and he gets chased by an angry mob, and the angry humans are chasing him. Jean and Cyclops chase the angry humans. They go down into the sewers where we meet for the first time the Morlocks.
Yep.
Who are using their power. Like, they're messing up the humans so bad that Scott and Jean feel the need to intervene.
Yes.
And then what we learn is, I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but basically this whole scenario was set up by Callisto, who is the leader of the Morlocks.
Yes.
And the humans and Scott and Jean are subdued by a woman named Annalie, who makes them fall asleep. I will forget this woman's name in my notes and will proceed to call her Sleep Lady for the rest of the episode.
See, I have a very fond memory of this old lady.
Yeah.
And I don't think of her as Sleep Lady. I think of her as Scorpion Lady.
Scorpion Lady?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Use her powers.
Yep.
And it's something when my wife and I first met, I asked her if she had ever, like, do you read comic books? If you blah blah blah, and she was like, "Oh, I used to watch the X-Men cartoon a lot."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, covered with scorpions." And I was like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about."
Yeah.
Sure enough, here it is in this episode, and yeah. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. It's also,
I consider her to be Scorpion Woman.
Scorpion Woman, yeah. Also, I think we learned a couple key things about Wolverine in these episodes that we're covering. His 2 main weaknesses are scorpions, apparently, and snow in the eyes. You get snow in his eyes, he's done.
My eyes! Yeah, I was like, because at first, when Sabretooth throws a snowball, I'm like, oh, now it's a snowball fight?
Yeah.
But Wolverine is like, ah!
Yeah.
It's water.
Yeah, it's water, man. It's going to melt, dude. The way they talk about it, Sabretooth basically gutted you last time. You can recover from snow to the eyes.
You'll be okay. He threw a snowball at your face.
Yeah.
This guy's using nitroglycerin. Like, you should you should be able to handle the snowball.
Yep. So then we cut back to the mansion, and what do we have? None other Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen, the classic Sad Wolverine meme of him looking at a picture of Jean and Scott. And I gotta ask you, Sal, is he in Jean and Cyclops' room? Is he in their bed pulling a picture from their mantle?
Oh my God. You know, I didn't think about it. I was just so focused on the fact that, like, he can't get a picture of Jean by herself.
Nope.
He has to have the one with Cyclops in it. Let's assume he is. It doesn't look like his room. So let's say it is their room.
I have some notes
just on their bed.
I have some notes about Wolverine's room because between this episode and the next episode, they changed animation teams, kids, and it's noticeable. It's very noticeable. But yeah, it's so goddamn funny. And then he doesn't even cut Cyclops out. He just puts a little hole in it. He's like, oh.
Well, between the two animation, he cuts it in one with his claw.
Yeah.
And then there's a hole in it in the next one. Like, there's so many incongruities between this episode and the next episode, and how they also like retread it. So they reuse dialogue from the previous episode in the next episode. So you're like, just so much more apparent. But you're supposed to watch them between weeks. You're not supposed to watch it right away. Hell, they will do things in this and many cartoons like it, where they'll set up a commercial sting, which is, say, a break where a commercial will happen. Then they'll reiterate when they return the sting because they don't want you to forget what happened to set up the commercial break when we come back to it. And they'll change either the position, the animation, or even the scenario.
Yes. Yep. Ian McGar says he's in her drawer sniffing her clothes. I bet he always sniffs in the animated series. I'll bet you, man, like, God forbid Cyclops goes in that room with a black light.
Oh, no.
Like, Wolverine, what are you doing? This is me and Jean's room. What are you doing?
What are you doing in here? Why are you on my bed?
He's, like, rubbing his face against the banister like a cat.
Yeah.
Like,
this is my space. I go where I want to go.
Oh, my God. Okay, so... while he's in their bed, Rogue and Gambit walk by, and Gambit is living dangerously because he's wearing nothing but a Speedo around Rogue. And again, as previously established,
pool?
I get it. I get what he's doing. I'm just, you're rolling the dice, Gambit. You're rolling dice. You're rolling dice.
He likes to. He plays dangerously.
Oh my goodness. So Scott wakes up in the clutches of the Morlocks without his glasses, and he doesn't need them. I guess all Leech says is he claims to have helped him. I guess what we're supposed to assume is he took Scott's powers. I don't know that
he leached his powers away from him.
Yeah, the show really counts on you hearing the name Leech, seeing that Scott doesn't have his powers, and being like, got it.
I guess. I mean, that's a lot of shorthand, but I get it. I'm like, I appreciate it because they're like, we don't have time.
Yeah. We are motoring through a lot of stuff. We're introducing the entirety of the Morlocks, the conflict between Storm and Callisto, all of it.
Yeah.
So Callisto introduces Scott to the Morlocks, and the animation team really phones it in on this one. They're just like rough. There's like a pan shot, and it's just rough outlines of people. Like, whatever, you get it. They're supposed to look ugly anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, Callisto rigged this whole thing to get Scott. She wants to be with Scott. Fucking everybody loves Scott, man.
Yeah, she saw the first episode and she shows it for everybody. But she's like, I saw that, like, you're a field leader, you're hot and a badass.
Yeah.
And I need someone to sire an heir.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't need you to lead. I'm the leader.
I'm the leader. Dude, it makes me think of Immortan Joe in Fury Road, where she's just like, I just want a normal looking baby, and my options down here, it's not looking so hot. It's not looking so hot.
It's true.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I did not remember this being Callisto's motivation.
Me either.
Yeah.
It might be made up for this episode. I don't recall in the comics but it might be. I remember there was a kidnapping, but I think it was Angel that she wanted to bang.
Understandable. I get that.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. Scott says his powers feed off sunlight, so he wouldn't be much help down there, which makes me think, like, wait, so if you just live underground, you wouldn't need the glasses?
Right? That's what I'm wondering. And I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, she wants an heir. I have that in my notes. Jean is being held hostage, but Jean frees herself finally, for once, in the show's run so far, being useful.
Jean's a badass in this episode.
Yeah. She's taking care of business. So the X-Men go into the subway to find them, and everybody is understandably worried about Storm and her claustrophobia, because if I didn't make it clear earlier, when she flips out in the danger room, she wrecks everybody's day. It is a problem.
Yeah, it's true.
I like that the show acknowledges how powerful Storm is.
This suite of episodes is don't forget how powerful Storm is, because we will.
Yeah. So it's a certain point when they're going through the subway, it changes from looking like a subway to looking like secret base. I'm going to assume because they had secret. Again, this is the episode they saved money on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is 92.
Yeah.
Everyone has a secret sewer-based base.
Yes, of course.
Everyone.
Of course, you've got to. You go deep enough in any abandoned subway tunnel, you will get to a secret base. That's just a fact.
That's right. It's just a fact.
So they find, they climb through a duct. Wolverine is really, everybody's like, hey man, Wolverine, should we be doing something about the Storm situation? And Wolverine's like, if she wants out, she'll let us know.
I kind of appreciate Wolverine, by the way, does say that, where he's like, they're like, hey, Storm, he's like, lady said she's good.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's interesting because it's one of those maybe intentionally left for interpretation. Is it Wolverine
projecting?
Is he respecting Storm's wishes, or is he just being a curmudgeonly asshole, being like, she said she wanted to go, so she's going. She's got to go.
Why not both?
Yeah.
But also, I like the idea that Wolverine is you don't mess with Storm.
Yeah,
Storm goes where she wants.
Storm goes where she wants to go. They find Jean, and she's with Sleep Lady. And she thinks Sleep Lady's her mom, and this is where Sleep Lady makes Wolverine see scorpions.
Covered with scorpions. And I love it. No, scorpions! I'm covered in them! And you're like, regular people won't be killed by scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a healing factor. What?
Yeah, you have metal bones.
I do appreciate them, they're like, we're gonna establish Wolverine as a badass, where he's like, I am a badass, though. You covered me in scorpions, and I am afraid of them, but I'm going to power through them and get you.
Yeah. I think they do a pretty good balancing act here of knocking Wolverine on his ass on occasion, but still making him capable and cool.
Well, because they have to, right? Because he is the logo for the show.
Yep.
And, but also he can't stab anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make him go away.
Yes.
He has to be able to he has to take his licks, but he also has to be cool. So the closest thing we can do is have him just lob empty threats at people.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I can imagine the team, we're going to get to it, where they're like, okay, Wolverine versus Sabretooth. How are we going to do this one, gang? How are we going to do this one? So Wolverine pushes through the scorpions.
Yep.
Callisto tries to pass off Scott as dead. It turns out Wolverine uses a sniffer. He's able to see through this one. It's a shapeshifter. Cool. And then we get this big X-Men Morlock fight. Turns out the shapeshifter can not just look like, he's not Mystique. He can make himself into a ring or a puddle. It's kind of upsetting to look at, honestly.
It is. I don't care for it, but I do appreciate it. Also, this is I think they did it in the Magneto episode too, where they're like, oh, if they're fighting, play the theme.
Yeah. We got to get the theme in there. Come on, gang. If we learned anything from 80s cartoons, you got to get that theme in there. There's also Morlock that can turn into a giant lizard. Chasing after.
Yeah, he did turn into a lizard.
He turned into a big old lizard. Yeah. Chasing after Callisto, Wolverine finds Scott. And he basically is like, you son of a bitch, I would fucking murder you right here.
It was so great. I can make a couple of ladies real sad right now. I'm like, this is kind of a badass moment for Wolverine. Yeah. This is kind of heavy for a child's cartoon. I could just stab you to death and leave you in the sewers. But I guess I won't.
My instincts tell me murder you here. But because it would make Jean cry.
Well, yeah. The psychic will find out.
Yeah. She'll get through. I'm surprised the adamantium in Wolverine's skull doesn't keep him from being... Dude, that would be a good way to explain why Professor X never fixes his brain. Like, I can't get in there. There's metal there. Yeah.
I kind of love that.
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't used that one. It works like
Magneto's helmet, which also didn't do that until the movie.
Yeah. So he saves Cyclops. Sleep Lady almost has Wolverine kill Cyclops. Like, she's like, remember, you hate Cyclops, kill him. And then this is where she oversteps. If Scorpion Lady was just like, kill Scott, she would have had him.
You might have.
But he's like, also kill Jean. And it's like, no.
Oh, you overstepped. They knew because they knew they were like, oh, he has a boner when he's looking at Jean all the time. Like, he wants her.
Those trunks you can see right there.
Yeah, taking what's mine.
Yeah. So he fights it off and he like collapses because he won't kill Jean. Now, if you recall, we've brought up a Storm subplot that we haven't mentioned in a minute because it didn't matter. Now it matters, everybody. All that stuff about is Storm capable of being a leader despite her claustrophobia, which sounds like, just because of claustrophobia. It's a bad case of claustrophobia. It's real bad.
Yeah, it's debilitating.
This is her moment because she decides, I'm going to fight Callisto. And so she challenges Callisto to one-on-one combat. They're not allowed to use their powers. And they use lightsabers to do it, everybody.
It predates the Phantom Menace by 6 years. It's 6 years. They use double-bladed lightsabers.
Yep.
At first, only Callisto has a double-bladed lightsaber.
But then Storm has one.
Whoa!
Yeah. Then Storm busts one out too. Still, we've never gotten, at least in the live action, double-bladed on double-bladed lightsaber fight.
Seems like an oversight.
Seems like something we should get on, everybody.
All right.
Then Storm wins, and I liked this because I was like, how are they going to explain why they don't just invite the Morlocks to join the X-Men? But they do. They're like, hey, come this. And then the Morlocks, which I have to think is tactical, they're like, no, we won't do that until mutants are accepted by humans, which is basically them saying we're never going to join the show.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it's justified. I like it. But I also appreciate them at least even addressing it, not just being like, good luck to you, Morlocks, and then just going back to their mansion.
Yeah, exactly. Which I assumed was what was going to happen. They're going to be like, cool, now that we've done this, peace out, everybody. The weird part is Storm's like, listen, I'm not going to kill Callisto in this one-on-one combat. She's going to lead in my stead. The psycho that kidnapped one of your friends and tried to coerce him into marriage? All right.
That's the one.
Okay, I'd see what's Leech doing. What about the Rainbow Lady who can go 2D? Maybe she's got some good ideas on how to lead. I don't know.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, look, if any of them were any good at it, they'd beat her because Callisto, in this show at least, is a terrible leader who has no good strategy.
That is true. That's a good point. So Jean comments on how beautiful Scott's eyes are. Ooh, sweet. And then back at the base, Professor X praises Storm's leadership. She's like, well, we kind of fumbled the ball a bunch, and he's like, but nobody died, so that makes you a good leader.
That's usually, I mean, look, our first debut, as far as our audience is concerned, we lost more.
Yeah, so you're already a step ahead of Cyclops. And then Scott and Jean go to find Wolverine in what looks like a gymnasium. Wolverine's room looks like a gym, and he's not there, and the whole room's wrecked. Cut to Season 1, Episode 6, Cold Vengeance, which originally aired on February 6, 1993. Sal, what's the synopsis for this one?
Well, Cold Vengeance says, after leaving the X-Men, Wolverine looks for solitude in the Arctic, but comes across Sabretooth, who's been tracking him. Jubilee, Storm, and Gambit do some investigating at an island resort that seems to be safe haven for mutants.
Now, right off the bat, we know we've changed animation teams because Wolverine's room is completely different. It looks like a room as opposed to a gym. As you mentioned, the aforementioned Jean and Scott pick is torn up differently.
Yep.
And I can tell why they gave the A team, one presumes the A team, or at least not the Z team, whatever team did the last episode. Yeah. They gave a better team this episode. And I'm not going to lie, that when my inner fanboy realized, like, wait, is this going to be a Wolverine Sabretooth episode? Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah.
Classic, too. Like, just a straight-up Wolverine Sabretooth episove.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. You know, I've been pretty clear on this show, opening on the show, that I didn't love X-Men 97 as much as everybody else. But one of the things you cannot knock that show, animation in it is top-notch. Yep. And I'm bummed they didn't do one of these episodes. I wanted a Wolverine because they did a smart thing in that show, in that like this isn't the Wolverine show. This is the X-Men show. So Wolverine's going to be there. He's going to be cool. We're going to give him cool moments, but we're not going to let him hog the spotlight, especially in a post Hugh Jackman where the whole franchise is him world. We're not going to do that.
Exactly.
But give me one episode. Give me one of these.
You could have split up the Mojo episode and a Wolverine Sabretooth fight.
Yeah. That was a weird paced episode. The one with the Mojo and the
Motendo was a weird one. I was like, why did you do this?
I didn't like it. I liked the Motendo one because it was the one time the show felt like it was having fun and introducing ideas that felt kind of fresh to me. It's just the fact that it was like one half of the episode and then the other half was the Storm stuff that we're not even resolving in this episode. I was like, you guys know that shows have subplots, right? Like you could have just interwoven these two things, I think, into whatever.
Like 2 whole episodes smashed together.
Yeah.
One of which was just shorter than the other one. Yeah, they don't know.
They
don't know that.
Yeah. But
this is the new school of like television approach where they're like, well, we need to make every show is 8 to 10 episodes long. That way we don't have any filler episodes.
Mm-hmm.
No filler episodes, aka beloved fan favorite episodes that inform characters, so you care about what happens to them in the important episodes.
Yeah, no, but you got to be plot. It's all about plot. It's all about the plot.
Because what we really want to do is we really want to be making movies. 9-hour-long movies.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Horribly paced, terribly edited movies.
Yeah. Back to Wolverine and Sabretooth. So we start in the room. It's messed up. Cut to Wolverine skiing. He says there's no place like home. So one must presume he's in Canada. I don't think
that is the only assumption I can make, because I was like, home? You're not from here.
Yeah.
You're not an Inuit. What is this?
Yeah.
But yet here he is. He's like, yeah, I'm in Canada, I guess.
Well, where they have those Arctic ice bridges and glaciers and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe if you get high enough, I guess. Yeah. Sabretooth, like you said, man, throwing out the nitroglycerin. He's got C4, baby. He's blowing up an ice bridge under Wolverine. And then we get a Wolverine Sabretooth fight. And I'm not going to lie, Sal, for the era, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's not as hard as the comics would go.
Oh,
where
no.
He could actually stab Sabretooth. But which makes me go like, it's like you, where it's like X-Men 97. They could have stabbed each other. What a cool, raw, awesome fight that might have been. But as it stands, knowing that this is a children's cartoon and they got to worry about censors and stuff, it's on a network called Fox Kids.
Yeah. Yep.
You're gonna be like, so yeah, but it's a pretty raw fight, and what really makes it raw, like you pointed out earlier, the voice cast.
Totally, 1,000%.
That voice for Sabretooth, I don't know who plays Sabretooth, but he is insane. Just that like, hi!
Yeah, dude, yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it's funny too, because, obviously when I think about, Batman, it's like Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, and I think about those voices, and those are the voices, those are so iconic and definitive in my brain for Batman and Joker. Yeah. I guess because I revisit this show less, I forgot how, like, the second Sabretooth speaks, I'm like, oh, right, Sabretooth. Yes, that's correct. Yep. Yes.
That's what he sounds like in my head. Yeah, he's insane bravado, but he sounds nuts.
I'm kind of like, I've tried to avoid Deadpool spoilers, but through osmosis, I know Sabretooth's going to be in there. And they're doing it. It's probably the same reason Juggernaut showed up in Deadpool 2, where they're like, we have Colossus in this franchise, but we've never gotten the classic Colossus versus Juggernaut. What if we do that? It was definitely Ryan Reynolds being like, let's rated R. Let's really do like a Wolverine Sabretooth fight, which fine. I'm excited for it. If it's like this, I'm on board. But I am bummed. I guess what I'm trying to say, is depending on how, I haven't seen that yet, obviously. Depending on how that is, I'm bummed we didn't get it soon. Like, obviously, Sabretooth and Wolverine fight in X1, but there's none of the history there.
There's a little bit, like, I remember in it when you see X1 for the first time, you go back to 2000 and you're watching that movie.
Yeah.
And they finally get one-on-one.
Yeah.
And he takes his dog tags and goes, "This is mine."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh no!" Yeah. And then nothing.
Then
nothing.
You're
like, nah. I should point out, it looks like no classic Sabretooth costume in Deadpool.
That's the other thing. I wish Sabretooth looked like this, because in my brain,
put him in this outfit. Yeah, where he looks like a bear.
Yeah, like not just this outfit, like I know you and I tend to like, CG has a place, but it's like, I kind of wish Sabretooth looked huge. Like
Yeah, I know.
It'd be cool. But yeah, anyway, again, it's one of those, like, watching this, like, unlock to, like, nostalgia. My inner child, I'm like, yeah, Wolverine Sabretooth. Anyway, so they fight. Logan gets dumped into the water, and Sabretooth, like you said, he's just flipping out. He's like, yeah, you're going to freeze to death, you bitch. He's a pro wrestler, dude. That's what he is,
really
man.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the Intercontinental Champion of the world, you piece of shit.
You'll never recover from this. Don't ever. But yeah, he gets on an ice floe, and then Sabretooth is like throwing rocks at him and shit.
Yep. He's like, and if you die, I'm gonna come to your grave and we're taking deuce on it. Like,
oh my god. So meanwhile, so I should mention, because this was on my mind watching these episodes, I was talking to a mutual friend, Jason Inman, and we were talking about X-Men 97, and he pointed out that he thought it did a good job capturing the spirit of X-Men, which is, it's basically just high school angst. And I thought that was such, it was, because normally when you talk about X-Men, you talk about the metaphor for racism and bigotry, right? But, which I think as I've gotten older, I see the flaws in more as a metaphor. Yes. But saying it's like, no, it's a metaphor for being a high schooler. It's like, yeah, he's right. It is. And that's part, I think, like, it's just weird because they're adults. Like, they're grown people. They're grown-ups. But this is high school angst 101, because we open this scene. We cut back to the X-Mansion, and Cyclops and Gambit are screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And we learned the reason why is Gambit was like, what if a vacation? And Cyclops flips his lid about it.
How dare you? Yeah, no, he's like, oh, you don't even belong on this team. Like, he loses it. Because, like, I guess he's still stewing it on Wolverine leaving.
Yes.
But he's taking it out on Gambit because he's like, because Cyclops, like, telegraphs what's happening in X-Men 97, where he's like, we don't need two Wolverines, Gambit.
Yeah. We're all Wolverined up, all right? And I love, but I love that, like, yeah, it's high school shit, man. A guy he doesn't even like left. And instead of being like, cool, I don't have to deal with him for a little bit, he gets mad about it. He gets mad about it.
Because the professor says we need to be a team.
Yeah, Dad said we need to work together, and you're not doing your part of the team project. And now Gambit's over here saying there's an island that accepts mutants, and I say that's a lie, fake news, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And Professor X comes in like, no, Gambit, that's actually a good idea, Gambit. Cyclops, send a team over, and they treat it like a stuff. The mission is, this island says they accept mutants, and we're treating it like an undercover op. All right, send in.
Find out if they do.
Yeah, send in Storm and Gambit, and we decide. And it's like they can't decide, like, is this an operation or is it a vacation? Because he specifically sends Jubilee because it's like, well, it's just a beach. Like, how bad could it be?
Exactly. Like, well, this is one of those things. It's all right.
Oh my god,
so they do. And Jubilee is great. She brings her best sweater to the beach.
Yes. A couple characters get. Storm has one other outfit she wears.
That pink tank top.
Gambit does not. I think we're supposed to understand that those are just Gambit's clothes. Those are just clothes.
It is. Because they talk about being undercover, and like, yeah, so Jubilee is in her civilian outfit. Storm is in her going to the mall costume, and Gambit is dressed as Gambit.
Yeah, Gambit has a coat on, therefore that's clothes.
But he also has that insane fuchsia body armor, and you're like, you didn't even try. I know you have other clothes. You were wearing that Speedo not like 10 minutes ago.
You literally are ready for the beach. He's like, that's what I got under here, man.
Take this body armor. You were more ready for the beach when we didn't have a beach episode.
Mm-hmm. So, meanwhile, Logan, back in the water, is found by some indigenous people. Inuit, according to the show. Are these voice actors voiced by indigenous actors? The answer is...
Do you know?
No. The answer is, of course not.
Of course not. So at first I thought maybe they are.
I mean, it's the 90s. We're getting into a proximity where somebody might care about that, but somebody in charge might care about that. There are people that would care about it, but it is a little hard to determine just because It's weird for as popular as this show is, how little anybody seems to care. Like, again, they haven't remastered the episodes. The IMDb has not been updated because there's just a list of people. Who do they play? Who gives a shit? Apparently,
it's so true.
Yeah. So, but I will say the one main guy, that the young kid that tries to betray Wolverine, is not. Does not appear to be. He appears to be a white guy. Anyway. But don't worry, everybody, because Wolverine is not only accepted to the tribe, but he proves that he's better at everything they do than they are. Classic white guy being better at all the indigenous stuff than the people who do it.
Yep.
He's getting more fish. Everybody loves him.
Yep.
Ladies
just humiliates the other guy.
Just humiliates him. The other guy later says that, like, everybody liked me until this Logan guy came in. I'm like, I don't think that's true, man. I don't
they thought you were a big loser back then too, but okay.
Oh my goodness! But as he's talking to the leader of the tribe, Logan is, and he's talking to the leader of the tribe, and he says he feels peace for the first time. And I just I have this in my notes. Cal Dot is doing really good work here because you can sense it. Like, you can sense that, like, he loosened his asshole up, man. His asshole's less puckered right now. You can tell, like, hey, I'm actually having a good time. I like it here. It's
simple. I'm judged by what I do and what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
Which really is what you do with the X-Men, but also you got Wolverine, you got Cyclops telling you what to do all the time. In this place, it's like, we need to catch as many fish as we can or we'll starve. And
yeah.
Like, that I can do.
I can do that.
We need to cut this big log. He's like, well.
I got you, babe.
I got 6 knives on my arms. But, like, I get it. But also we need to, like, ratchet it up because Wolverine needs to lose something.
Well, dude, anybody that knows any sort of, like, as a kid, you might not pick up on this, but, like, Wolverine can't be happy. The worst thing that could happen the worst thing that can happen to you is being in the proximity of Wolverine or Batman when they're happy.
Yes.
Like, just get out of there.
You are in the way of the story. You are in the way of the meta narrative.
Yeah. And of course we know Sabretooth's just lurking around the corner, and there's nobody more excited to ruin Wolverine's day than Sabretooth.
He's so jazzed. Yeah, I'm gonna wreck your day. I mean, dude, literally, he was like he was Macho Man Randy Savage on the top of the peak.
Dude, I actually genuinely love that Sabretooth lives and breathes to just ruin Wolverine's day. Like, I think that's just a really cool, and then that, depending on the storyteller, that can expand to just, like, ruining everybody's day. Like, Sabretooth is just a fucking chaos agent, and I kind of fucking love it.
He absolutely is. That is so true. That is just what Sabretooth. He's just like, I like ruining people's day.
Yeah.
And also, like, he's like, as far as Sabretooth is concerned, I think the only one who's going to survive this fight is going to be Wolverine.
Yeah.
Because I want him to keep hurting. Like, I'm Khan. I want to hurt Wolverine so bad.
I think the wrong instinct to have is to, like, should we give Sabretooth some pathos? No. Sabretooth's driving imperative just wants to, is as close as you can get without it being corny, is a pure evil. Like, he just gets off.
He's the Joker. He's the Joker of the Marvel Universe.
Dude, yes, 100%. And I think, like, that we talked about this before. I think that's why, like, I remember when I was reading Amalgam Comics, and so Dark Claw is Batman and Wolverine fused. And so the analog of that is Joker and Sabretooth fused. And it's not until as an adult, I'm like, actually, that's actually a pretty good pairing.
Yeah. Plus making him a hyena.
Yeah.
Genius.
Okay. So the team, and by the team, I mean Gambit, Storm, and Jubilee, go to Genosha. The hotel even has a sign that says they have a mutant discount, which is wild. I want to unpack that for a second. Could you imagine going to a hotel and then being like, we have a discount for black people?
Right.
We have a discount for gay people.
Ask us about our homosexual discount.
Yeah. It's like,
be like, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask because I have so many questions.
I mean, thanks for the discount, but
this has to be as illegal as the opposite of this sign.
It's weird. It's a weird one. It's a weird one.
We're in another country. We can do whatever we want.
So
ask about our orgies. Like, we can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want here. Damn it! I wrote the character's name down the way it's spelled in the thing, and now I don't know how to. Keoek.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
The jerk kid.
Yeah.
He takes Wolverine out on a boat. And this was another one where it's like, okay, so like this isn't like this isn't King Lear, all right? This is, this is a Saturday morning kids cartoon. but I do appreciate the little bit of effort because like, so the guy that's like a dick from this tribe runs into Sabretooth, a monster man. And he reacts appropriately to the monster man. Like,
oh, he thinks he's a demon.
Yeah.
He's like, you're a snow demon. He's like, I'm not a snow demon, you moron. I'm a mutant. Like your friend.
And
Wolverine.
So, yeah. And so Sabretooth convinces him to help him take out Wolverine because this kid already doesn't like Logan. So this kid takes him out on a boat and they come back and the village is destroyed. And your first instinct is to be like, of course, you fucking idiot. What did you think was going to happen? And I appreciate, because I just, be honest, I don't see Spider-Man, the animated series, putting the effort to have this one little extra line where he's like, I thought I was leading you into a trap. I thought I was taking you specifically someplace to be in a trap. I didn't anticipate this. It's like, good enough.
I took it. I was like, that's right. That's what Sabretooth does also. Like, that's so smart. Like, Sabretooth will trick you. Yeah. Like, it's not just, he'll say one thing and do another. Like, he is he's a real piece of shit.
He's a real piece of shit, man. And that's, there are villains you want that have tragic backstories and have understandable motivations. But I do think there's merit. There's merit in having villains. They're just real pieces. This guy's just a piece of shit, and he loves doing it.
Yeah, and he loves it. And he knows it. He's like, this is what I am, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. This shit just excites me. Let me, don't judge me. Don't kink shame me.
Don't kink shame me. I'm popping massive wood as I strap dynamite to these ice bridges that are all over
the place. Climate change has not reached this part of the Arctic yet, but that's okay. Sabretooth's doing his part.
I'll take care of it. Oh no, there's a hole in the ozone layer. Get me a spaceship. I can make it bigger.
Sabretooth is tied the rest of the camp up to these bridges that he's wired to explode. This leads to another fight between Wolverine and Sabretooth. This time Wolverine's in costume because this show knows what we want. God damn it.
Yep. He did. It's funny because I think he goes out. Yeah, okay. Because he has all his outfits in this episode. He's got the Canadian outfit with the like yellow checkered and brown bomber jacket look. He's got the like ski outfit and he's got his classic yellow and blues.
Yeah. He's got the whole shebang.
I guess he was leaving. He was like, I'm done.
I'm done. I'm going to pack all three of my outfits and get out of here.
That's how you know he was serious. And then in the next episode, he's like, I'm back.
I'm back, baby. All right, dude. So they fight. This is where we get Sabretooth putting snow in Wolverine's eyes, which almost debilitates him, guys. This is almost
my eyes! I'm like, what? And also, like, Sabretooth has been using his razor-sharp claws and bombs.
Yeah.
And then he's like, how about this one? Try this one on for size, you asshole. And just throws a snowball in his face. And he's like, what? And that was more effective than any other weapon.
Dude, that's the thing. That's that teen drama. Everything's dialed up to 11. And it works, man. It works. Especially as a kid. Especially watching this as a kid, it works.
Well, that's what this is. This show is a soap opera for children.
Yeah.
Like, you are watching this, you are gripped. You are like, there is a love triangle that I am invested in. Mm-hmm. Wolverine loves Jean, but Jean loves Scott. Yeah. And Scott loves the team.
Yeah.
No one knows what they're going to do. And you're like, that's like that. The concept of like being married to your job. Yeah. It's hard. It's an esoteric nature concept to like pitch to a child. And yet they're like, oh, wait, if I were to visualize that in a character, it's Cyclops. I now understand it. Like, this is a brilliant method of delivering melodrama, serialized fiction, sequential storytelling. Like, remember that moment in this episode where he's like yelling at Sabretooth? There's like, Sabretooth! Yeah. I don't want to fight anymore. I'm so tired. There's a moment where Sabretooth says earlier in the episode, he's like, 10 years ago, you would never have fallen for this trap. And I'm like, just implying all this stuff that we're never going to pay off or ever show.
Yeah.
It's like, you get it. You're like, I'm in. As a kid, you take it at face value. You're like, history. I now have 10 years worth of history that I've written in my head that I'll never see.
Yeah. To that point, one of my favorite lines in this episode is when that moment Wolverine's like, I don't want to fight. He's like, I don't care who started it. Yeah. And it's like,
what?
The implication being this could be Wolverine's fault. And it's like, that's interesting. And again, to your point, like some of it can be like silly, where it's like, well, is Wolverine really going to kill Cyclops in this? But it gets back to something we've talked about on the show before. I do hope that when the MCU adapts the X-Men, we kind of get back to this. It's like Wolverine's one bad day away from joining Magneto, and you know what I mean, or like just being a problem the X-Men need to solve.
Agent. Yeah. No, Wolverine. He's not even a bad day. He's one beer away.
From
just not doing any of it. Like, it's like the most out of character thing Wolverine's ever done is join the X-Men.
Yes. And it's compelling for a couple of things. One, it makes him cool as shit, but also it creates tension and it creates an arc. You know, like I'd be interested. Like I really hope like this. It's too late for this now, but I think it was even like maybe 10 years ago or something. But there was at some point, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Hugh Jackman was asked who else could do Wolverine, you've been doing it 10 years at the time, like 20 years now. And he's like, I think Tom Hardy could do a good job. And it's like, yeah, man, because Tom Hardy would play the version of this. Hugh Jackman's handsome leading man Wolverine. Tom Hardy would play like the weird guy that could murder everybody on the team.
Yeah, like he maybe smells.
Yes. Yeah. And the problem is, the bummer is that it's like, I don't know. Tom Hardy is now Venom, and he's also too old for that now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like people throw out Taron Egerton, and it's like, no, that's still clean cut, pretty boy.
Yeah.
Wolverine.
I'm always on team Daniel Radcliffe. I say Radcliffe is my Wolverine. I think
this is going to seem
after
stupid.
Guns Akimbo, like seeing how disheveled he could be and how like unhinged.
Like I've seen that image from what is it like that show where he plays an angel or whatever. Where like, I think the third season was post-apocalyptic, and there's a scene with him shirtless in his underwear and he's like shredded or whatever.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, see it. This is going to seem stupid, but do you think his voice is deep enough? Like, I think you kind of need I need my Logan that can get his voice down to a certain register.
That's fair. Yeah. I don't think he could, but I don't think it'll crack. I think it's just that it'll be different. Like Cal Dodd's voice isn't terribly low.
I guess you're right.
Like it's just gruff.
Help me out, gang.
It's mostly like, hey.
Yeah.
He sounds kind of like Beetlejuice.
Dude. Young Michael Keaton could he have been a good Wolverine? Yeah, I think man.
Young Michael Keaton could have played anybody.
Yeah, that's true. All right, help me out, gang. Help me out in the comments. I need to do a better job throwing to the comments. This is something I've laid awake at nights thinking who could be the next Wolverine. Let me know in the comment. And don't. Okay, so we already said Tom Hardy and Daniel Radcliffe. Get those off the table. I don't want to hear Taron Egerton. Rough around the edges. Sal just said it. Somebody that looks like if they were playing Wolverine, they might smell. Give me that Wolverine in the comments. Okay.
Danny DeVito.
Well, I think there was at one point when they were talking about doing X-Men in the 80s that like Bob Hoskins was floating. I'm like, fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. It would have been a little bit of a chubbier Wolverine, but yeah.
Hey, man, but you're right. But still. Okay. So they fight. It's cool. Wolverine overcomes his weakness, just having snow in his eyes. And the jerk Kuek helps save Wolverine before he's about to fall down a pit. And then dude, this is great. He throws Sabretooth down a crevice. He's like, fucking stay down there, you bitch.
Yeah, it's solid. Stay down there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because that's what that is. It's like, Wolverine's in the ocean. He's like, yeah.
Dude, what's funny, man?
Crevasse. Yeah.
It's so funny, dude, because when I was watching it and I was kind of thinking about some of the things that didn't click for me for X-Men 97, and it's like, maybe I'm not into that melodrama we're talking about. And it is key to X-Men. It is. You know what I mean? So like,
so essential.
It's so essential. But now that we're like talking about it, it's like, no, man, like I really want the Fox movies did a good job of attempting to ground some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Go for it again. Just go for it. Like, go like fucking hardcore.
Embrace it, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Every emotion is dialed up to 10. Like, there's no somber, like, Wolverine, like, I threw Sabretooth over the edge. Am I the monster? He's like, no, good. I'm glad you're gone. Oh, my God. Okay. Sabretooth's not gone. He's always going to come back. He will haunt Wolverine forever. So meanwhile, Genosha does turn out to be a trap. Shocker. And then honestly, Storm, Jubilee, and Gambit are attacked by what look like G.I. Joe villains. There's even like robots that are not Sentinels.
They have like chicken walkers from Star Wars.
Yeah. And then until at the very end, in case like the viewers at home were like, wait, what's going on? A Sentinel does show up last minute. Like, hey, by the way, bad guys.
No, it shows up at the end of this episode. And the next episode, they're like, what? In another later scene, they're like, Sentinels? And
who knew? Yeah.
One of them attacked you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Different animation team.
Yeah. In my notes, I had, meanwhile, Genosha's a trap and the X-Men are attacked by giant robots that aren't Sentinels. And then my next note is, oh, never mind. There's one. And that's where we're going to end this episode of Mutant Academy. Sal, remind the kids at home where they can find you.
Well, if you like this, you might like Comic Pop. Swing by youtube.com/Comic Pop and Comic Pop Returns to see all of us. That is to say, my friends and I making fun of comic books and chatting about them and having a good time. You might see DJ in one of those episodes coming up soon.
Ooh, stay tuned. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. If you have a second, check out my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash. I've been doing some little like individual videos. I just did one on why I think Superman could beat both Homelander and Omni-Man. And I'm also starting a new one-on-one discussion show with a new guest every time. First guest was, you guessed it, Sal. You all seem to really like that episode, and I really appreciate all the support that it's gotten. And I've got some really cool guests lined up coming soon. So please go check that out. Please go support my comic at hellbentcomicbook.com. I'm going to have to edit that out when this episode actually goes live because the campaign will be over by then. But I appreciate y'all, and we'll see you next time.